Hello friends, welcome back to the Lightford house. My name is Hope if you are new here. Today we are making a copycat meal from my favorite Mexican restaurant here in the Huntsville, Alabama area. It's called the Fiesta plate and it's basically just rice with chicken and steak. They add shrimp. I'm not adding shrimp today. But we're gonna make some kind of like Mexican red rice and then top it with our steak, chicken. They also use onion, green bell pepper, and broccoli, and then you top it off with queso cheese. So that's what we're gonna do today. And right here I have a pack of round steak. We're gonna cut this up into strips, tiny strips, and then we're also gonna cut up my chicken that's in the microwave. It was still a little bit frozen when I took it out of the fridge, so I just popped it in there to defrost for a second. We're gonna marinate our chicken. I'm using a little of this Kinder's Tequila Lime seasoning, garlic powder, onion powder, oregano, cumin, chili powder, salt and pepper, and then I've got some avocado oil here, and I'm just gonna put them in this freezer bag, let them marinate. I'm throwing the chicken and steak in the bag together because they're gonna be cooked together anyway, so it's fine. So we're gonna go ahead and get the meat cut up into little strips, and then we'll get it in the bag. All right, I've got my chicken cut up and my steak. Now, I used chicken tenders. You can use chicken tenders or chicken breast. I have not tried chicken thighs for this recipe, so I don't know how that would come out. But if you want to give it a try, I don't see why you couldn't use chicken thighs. My steak, I just cut them into bite-sized pieces. They're kind of thin steak. I think I used a different steak last time I made these, like maybe some type of shoulder blade steak. I don't know, but any steak will work. And then I just cut my chicken up into bite-sized pieces. I'm gonna get all this into a freezer bag, put some avocado oil on, and then all the seasonings. There is no measurements for the oil or the seasonings. I will just show you what I'm adding and give you like an estimate. But you know, around here, we measure with our heart if you've been here for a while. And if you're new here, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you. I'm telling you guys, if you love Mexican food, this might not be authentic, but it's a really close copycat and tastes almost just as good as the one from the restaurant. In fact, I made this the weekend before last, and my husband said it was so good, he said he could eat it every week. So if that tells you anything, give it a try. I think you'll like it. Hit that thumbs up button. It really helps out my channel. And be sure to hit that subscribe button before you leave. All right, let's get to getting this chicken seasoned, and just ignore the sound of the bulldog eating his food in the background. Now, for marinating this, you can leave it in the fridge for an hour if you're in a hurry, but obviously the longer you leave it, the better. I think last time I did this, I left it in there for between 2 to 3 hours, and it was just perfect. So if you're trying to make this in the afternoon when you get off work, it's doable. Okay, so we've got all that chicken and steak in a bag. Just want to note too that if you want to switch out these seasonings for other seasonings, if you don't like something or don't have something, then you can omit it. You can also add to if you want to. If you have other ingredients, I have a cilantro lime seasoning in my cabinet that would probably be really good in this, but I'm not going to add it. I'm just going to add the things that I showed you here. So in with the avocado oil, I'm going to say maybe a half cup. Again, I'm not exactly measuring. I'll go in with all of these seasonings, so just add as much or as little as you want. This is the chili powder. I'm gonna say maybe 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons of each, because remember, we're trying to season all that steak and all the chicken. I don't go as heavy on the cumin because cumin's kind of a strong flavor to me, so maybe not as much of that. Maybe a teaspoon or so of the cumin. Oregano, maybe a teaspoon of that as well. Teaspoon to a tablespoon. Just season it till it feels right. I gotta be careful with the onion powder and garlic powder because they come out really fast out of these containers. I'm gonna go maybe a tablespoon each of the onion and garlic powder. And last time I think I did also add some fresh garlic into this as well, along with the garlic powder, because we will have to cut up some garlic later for our Spanish rice that we're making, our red rice. But if you don't have any fresh garlic, use jarred. This is that Kinder's Tequila Lime. Add a bit of that in there. And then some salt and pepper to your heart's desire. And that's Himalayan pink salt in there. Ground black pepper. So we will have to do a little bit of vegetable prep. We're going to cut up an onion. We're going to cut up some fresh garlic and then green bell peppers. Now for broccoli, you can do frozen broccoli. I did that last time, but this time I have fresh broccoli. Or if you want to omit any of the vegetables, customize this recipe any way you want it. If you only have chicken, only use chicken. You know, just make this your own. I'm just giving you a guideline to follow. And last time I made this, it turned out really good. The last time I did use frozen broccoli, I just don't have any frozen on hand. I only have fresh, so we'll use what we have and make it work. And I'm sure it'll taste just fine. And that's the bulldog upstairs going crazy. So we want to make sure to shake this around, get everything covered up, and then we're just going to place it in the fridge for maybe 2 hours. We're almost done with our marinating time. We're going to go ahead and prep our veggies while this is in the fridge marinating. But this is a very important step. Don't skip it. At least give it like an hour if you can. If you only have 30 minutes, you can try 30 minutes and see how it comes out. But once everything looks pretty well coated in that seasoning and oil, I'm going to go ahead, pop this in the fridge, and we'll be back. And I have some veggies here. I may not need both of these bell peppers. I may just use 1.5 or something like that. You can use as much or as little as you want. The first time I made this, I used 1 bell pepper and it worked out fine. I have 2 onions here. This one is smaller. You can use white or yellow onion, doesn't matter. I am going to dice one of the onions up, and the other onion I'm going to cut into strips. The bell peppers we're going to cut into strips as well. Thin strips on the bell peppers. The broccoli I'm going to take and just cut up into smaller pieces and get it prepped. I'm going to put the bell peppers and onion in Ziploc bags and put them back in the fridge until we need them. I'm just going ahead and getting a jump start on the prep. That way when I go to make my rice, I've already got my onion cut up and I've got my bell pepper, onion, and broccoli ready for cooking with the meat. We're also going to have to chop up some fresh garlic unless you don't want to add fresh garlic. And then you can use jarred garlic and that'll be fine. But if you have fresh, it tastes better than using the jarred stuff. But just use what you have and it should still come out good. So we're going to go ahead and start chopping these veggies. And then I'll see you back here in a minute. I ended up only using 1.5 of the green bell peppers. Just cut them into little strips like this. I'm going to save the other half of the other bell pepper here for something else later. But I'm going to also do the same thing with one of my onions. I'm going to cut it up into strips like this also. And voila, we've got our onion sliced into strips as well. Next, I'm just going to put these into a small Ziploc bag together because that is for our actual mixture that we're going to make with the meat that we're going to add the veggies to. And then I'm going to take the smaller onion back here and I'm going to actually dice this one up. I don't want it to be like a fine dice, but just a rough dice. And we are going to add that into our rice when we get started on that. All right, we've got some onion diced up here for our rice. We've got our onion and bell pepper for our meat, and then we have to wash this broccoli and chop it up. If you're using frozen, you just skip this step because you're just going to add your frozen broccoli in at the end or toward the end of the cook time. But we're going to go ahead and wash this up, and I'm going to cut it into smaller pieces. Some of these are pretty good sized and just need to be chopped down a little bit. So I'll get on that and then we'll be back. All right, I used about half of that bag of broccoli, got it chopped up into more bite-sized pieces here. Don't get rid of that cutting board and that knife just yet, because we do still need to chop up some garlic if you're using fresh. And I've already gone through one cutting board for the meat, so we don't need to waste any more dishes. Now, I'm going to put this in a large freezer bag, put it in the fridge until I'm ready for it, and then I'll get started on the garlic. And we're going to make our rice. I like to get my rice started and going so that it's simmering as I'm making the meat and veggie mixture. And then we're going to warm up some queso on the stove. I just buy the store-bought queso. I got some from Sam's Club, but the Velveeta brand of queso in the jar in the cheese section of your grocery store, it's actually pretty good too. I used that last time, but I found this larger queso here at Sam's Club. It's 2 pounds of queso, so I thought I'd give this one a try. That's what it looks like, and it says it's addictive. We'll see about that, but I'm gonna go ahead and heat this up on the stove, some of it anyway. I'll probably use maybe half the container, maybe not even half, we'll see. But we're gonna warm that up at the end after everything is almost done cooking, and then we will assemble our Fiesta plates. All right, garlic. This is where you can really go to town if you're using garlic. If you don't like garlic, you don't have to add it. You could use jarred garlic, you could use garlic powder. We are going to cut as much garlic as you want off of here. I may use half of this thing. This is for our rice. And then I added a little bit to my meat mixture last time, so I may throw a little bit in that bag as it continues to marinate. But this is up to you. Totally your preference on the garlic, or you can just skip it all together. I'm gonna chop up all of this garlic. And you might be thinking that looks like a lot of garlic, but the more garlic in your rice, the better, in my opinion. But again, it's all personal preference. I've got my garlic chopped up here. It doesn't have to be totally perfectly fine chopped garlic. As long as it's cut up, it's fine if you have little chunks, because it's gonna cook down in that rice. What we're gonna do now is get our rice and we're gonna wash it. So I'm using just regular white long grain rice from Sam's Club. I buy the huge, like 50-pound bags. And I'm going to put my rice in this here little strainer. We have to wash the rice. So you want to rinse it until your water runs clear. And you want to do a 2-to-1 ratio. So for every cup of rice that you do, you're going to need 2 cups of water. So I'm going to do, last time I did 2 cups of rice to 4 cups of water. This time I may do 3 cups of rice to 6 cups of water, because everyone really loved this meal, like I said last time I made it. So I think I'm going to go with an extra cup of rice this time. So I'm doing 3 cups long grain white rice, not the instant rice. You want regular rice, and then go ahead and measure out your water as well. So if you're doing 2 cups of rice, 4 cups of water, and so on and so forth. So go ahead and get that water measured out as well. Let's wash our rice and then we'll come back. I know this seems like a lot of steps, but I promise you it really comes together in no time at all once you get everything prepped, and the end result is going to be worth it. This is a must try. All right, the rice is washed. I just take it, run some cold water over it, take my hand and kind of just move it around in the rice until the water runs clear. So this is 3 cups of long grain white rice. I'm going to measure out my 6 cups of water so that it's ready to go. And then we're going to head to the stove and get this rice started. All right, the rice is pretty simple. The secret ingredient that you will need is this tomato bouillon chicken powder. You can find this at Walmart. That's where I got this container. It's just the Knorr brand. You're going to need some avocado oil or vegetable oil and our diced up onion that we have here. And then we're just going to go ahead and heat up some oil in a good sized pot. I'm using like a little soup pot kind of thing. And we're going to heat up the oil, and then we're going to add our onion in. We're not going to add our garlic until our onion has sauteed for a little while. But we're going to throw the rice in as well. We want to saute the rice until it starts to brown just a little bit, because it's going to add that flavor. So first we're going to get some oil heated up, add in our onion for a minute, then we'll add our rice. And we're going to add our garlic toward the end so that it doesn't burn, but so that the rice can get some of that garlic flavor as well. And if you're not adding garlic, then just go ahead and skip that step and just try to toast your rice just a little bit. There's no measurements for the oil either. I just kind of coat the bottom of the pan. You don't want to have too much. We're not deep frying anything, but just getting it toasted. So just adding a little bit of oil there, and I'm going to start heating that up. I'm going to turn it on to like a medium high and let that start heating up. And once it starts to get hot, I'm going to add those onions and the rice in. And before I put my oil away, I went ahead and added some to a little nonstick skillet here because we're going to need, I say little, it's not little, because we're going to need some oil in there to cook our meat and veggies as well. So you can go ahead and put a little oil in. This pan is not on yet because I am going to get the rice simmering before I start on the meat and veggies. This is why I said it's better to go ahead and measure out your water. I've got my 6 cups in a bowl over here because I'm doing 3 cups of rice. Because once we get these things simmering, it's going to go pretty fast. So you want to go ahead and already have that water measured out just to make it easier on yourself. So I've got the onion in there. I may even turn it down a little bit, but you can hear that sizzle. We're going to let the oil kind of infuse with the onion. And I'm going to go ahead and add my washed rice in there. And we'll get it going as well. And then we'll add that garlic after the rice kind of starts to toast. Alright, we've got our rice down in there. Mix it around. Do not let it sit and burn. You want to kind of keep it moving. You don't have to stir constantly, but you do want to make sure that it doesn't burn. So we're going to let this go for, I don't know, 5-6 minutes, however long it takes it to kind of start to turn a little bit golden brown. Now, you do not want to skip out on this step because this is what makes that rice taste so good. It's in there in that oil with the onion. We're about to add the garlic. Do not skip this. Alright, I've added my garlic in. And give that a little mix around there. It's hard to film with one hand and keep the rice mixed with the other, but we'll make it work. We've got a few more minutes on this rice, and then we're going to start adding in our water and our bouillon. So normally when I do 2 cups of rice with the 4 cups of water, I only add like 2 tablespoons of the bouillon. But since I'm doing 3 cups of rice today, I might add 3 tablespoons to it since we're doing 6 cups of water. Alright, starting to get a little bit of color on it. We're going to add in, I know you probably can't really see it on camera, the color, but we're going to add in our water carefully. And then I'm going to add my 3 tablespoons of bouillon. If you're only doing 2 cups, then only add the 2 tablespoons of bouillon. Again, you got to get that tomato chicken bouillon. Don't use just regular chicken broth. It won't look the same when you're done. So we're going to add in 3 tablespoons of this. And you can do heaping tablespoons, it's fine. And 3. I'm going to give this a mix. Get all that bouillon powder mixed in. It's going to give it a nice color, nice flavor. Now what we're going to do is put a lid on this and turn it up to high heat. Once it reaches a boil, we're going to turn it down and let it simmer on low for about 15 minutes or until the water is absorbed and the rice is tender. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on high heat, throw a lid on it, and we will let it come to a boil. We're coming up to a boil here, so I'm going to give this a stir. And I'm going to turn it down to low heat and let it do its thing. We will have to stir it occasionally while it's cooking. But let's go ahead and get that down to a simmer there. And now it's time to get the burner turned on over here so that we can start heating up this oil. And then we're going to add our meat first and let it start to saute for a little while. Then we'll add our veggies in. Now if you're using frozen broccoli for this, you can add it closer to the end of your cook time. Last time I used some frozen broccoli, I think I steamed it in the microwave for just a little bit so it wouldn't be frozen, and then I added it in. toward the end, but if you're using fresh, you may have to add it in a little bit sooner than that. So I'm putting this burner on medium high, closer to high actually. So we're gonna get this heated up, add our meat in, let it start sauteing away. All right, we've got our meat down in this oil that has heated up, and we're just gonna cook the meat till it's about maybe halfway done cooking. Then we're gonna scooch it over to one side of the pan and get those veggies in and let them start to cook as well. Our rice should be ready around 6:11. Just count like 15 minutes or set a timer for 15 minutes. And remember to stir this occasionally. We do not want it to burn. We're getting some color on our meat. It's looking pretty good. It's not done cooking, of course. But I think at this time I'm going to go ahead and make some room for my veggies here because I want my veggies to also have time to cook and soften. So I want the meat and veggies to cook together. We're going to make a little room there to add the veggies in and let everything kind of cook down together in this delicious infused oil here. Did I mention that this makes a ton of food? I'm going to go ahead and get this broccoli stirred down. My bell pepper and onions are in there. Once this is done, we'll be back. Okay, our rice is pretty much done. I'm going to turn it off and remove it from the heat. Let's give it one stir before we remove it from the heat. Looks really good. I know you can't see it because of the steam, but there we go. Go ahead and remove that from the heat, and we're going to start to heat up our queso on this burner. I still have my meat and veggies going over here. They're on like a medium low at this point. Just trying to get that broccoli tender, but everything else is done. Looks delicious. I'm going to let it keep simmering away. And don't worry about adding any additional seasoning in here. Like we only seasoned that meat, but look at all this juice down here in the pan. This is what is flavoring the bell peppers, onion, and the broccoli. So don't worry about adding any additional spices or seasonings. Everything that we put in that marinade in the meat is going to flavor your veggies. And then we're going to top it all with queso. So it's going to be really good. And we have some meat going overboard. But I'm just going to let the broccoli finish getting tender. If I was to make this again, I would probably do like I did the first time and use the frozen broccoli and just kind of warm it in the microwave a little bit and then add it in just so that it's done a little bit quicker. But it will work with fresh broccoli also. Okay, I did not even use half of this container. I put some queso in on that burner where we cooked the rice, so it should already be a little bit warm. I'm just going to put this down onto medium heat and just let it warm through and give it a little mix so that it doesn't stick or burn. While the broccoli finishes over here, we're just about done. We're at the finish line, and it's going to be really good. Okay, sad story. I had the full video edited, but I had to clear out some space because the file was too large to save. And in doing that, I deleted some videos out of my phone, which included the taste testing of that video and the outro. So I do apologize for that. Sometimes I'm such a dodo. But anyway, this is a must try. It was delicious. I recreated that copycat meal again. It was so good. And I hope that you try it and let me know in the comments if you do. I appreciate you all watching and hanging out, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.